TIFU by eating 2 apples a day for 3 months. 4 months ago I had a very severe stomach flu, with which I struggled for almost 4 weeks. Because of the nausea and constant diarrhea, I only ate very low fiber bland food for 4 weeks, and that time I had lost over 10 kilograms, 22 pounds. It wasn't covered. Blood and stool tests did not reveal anything unusual in the end. The only thing that could be determined was that I have a mild folic acid deficiency, which was most likely related to my unbalanced diet. When my symptoms finally got better after 4 weeks, I started eating more and incorporating more food into my daily diet. Here comes my duck up. To eat healthier and get more fiber, I started to eat oatmeal with fruit, bananas, apples, berries, once or twice daily. It seemed to work well, as my weight slowly but steadily went back up. Over the next few weeks I regained 6 kilograms, 13 pounds, in 3 months. However, my nausea never completely went away during that time, and my shits were always somewhat soft and sticky. I even bought a bidet especially for this reason, so that I could clean myself properly, which BTW was an excellent decision regardless of those problems. I kept detailed notes of everything I ate, but I couldn't see a pattern of when I felt especially nauseous, or when my stool was particularly soft and sticky again. Last week I stocked up on fruit and later ate the usual oatmeal with fruit this time. However, after breakfast I had a funny feeling in my throat, nothing major, just a little off. I dismissed it, and it disappeared after 2 to 3 hours. In the evening, when I ate oatmeal with fruit again, the feeling came back, but was a little weaker. I dismissed it again, and went to sleep. The next day I couldn't sleep in, because I had an extremely queasy feeling in my stomach. It felt like it was on fire, and shortly after came the diarrhea. I was feeling defeated, because after 3 months I was still eating very carefully, and the problems still wouldn't go away. Besides the diarrhea, I also didn't feel so good in general. I had higher blood pressure, something I usually don't have, and also my body temperature was raised slightly. I went to see the doctor again, and while talking to him suddenly I remembered something he told me in our very first conversation. Maybe you have some cross allergy with your hay fever. I thought about it at the time, but couldn't see a pattern now, though. With my steady apple consumption, things look different. I matched my food diary with my grocery bills, which showed the apple variety, and lo and behold, depending on the type of apple, my symptoms got a little better or a little worse. And the last time I bought fruit, I also got a new, excellent tasting variety of apple, which I have never had before. Could it be so simple? As it turns out, yes, I was a dumbass. I left out apples from my diet these past couple of days, and my digestion went back to normal pretty much instantly, which didn't happen in the last 4 months. No nausea, no diarrhea, no sticky shits, no gas. I also sleep much better, can concentrate better, and feel better in general. So as it turns out, I seem to have a cross allergy to apples, and kept eating at least 2 apples daily for 3 months. 1 apple a day does not always keep the doctor away, and too many apples a day might land you in the hospital if you're not careful. TL doctor, as it turns out, eating 2 apples a day is a bad idea if your doctor already suspects cross allergy at the onset of gastrointestinal problems. Edit, because the question came up a couple of times. Why did you keep eating the same stuff when you had those kind of problems? I kept eating the same stuff because I thought those were leftover problems from the stomach bug. Only when having the funny feeling in my throat and speaking to the doctor afterwards, it occurred to me that I might be actively contributing to the problems. It was also not that black and white. The culprit in the whole story was that I seemingly always ate the same thing, but the problems were not always equally pronounced depending on the type of apple. There were differences, and I only noticed that fact at the end. My daughter has a reaction to apples, cherries, peaches, and pineapple. We had her allergy tested, and she reacted aggressively to birch pollen. Seems there are similarly perceived in the body, and yes, cooling the fruit can make it tolerable, because it breaks down the protein that causes the reaction. So thankful you figured this out. You can order allergy test kits to be done at home, and sent in for results. They are actually pretty accurate. With 3 children that all have food allergies, we have had professional testing done several times, so we are able to compare the two. The science and understanding of food allergies/intolerances has great improved. We do have an EPON for our daughter with fruit allergies. She was getting huge hives on her face and neck and experiencing swelling on her lips and tongue from fresh fruit. Came up out of the blue as well. Although she did have a fairy allergy as a baby. We live in northern Michigan and would regularly pick 70 to 80 pounds of cherries a year. So now she bakes cherry pies. Bummer though. Fresh cherries are amazing. Keeping a food/symptom log is the best was to accurately track culprits. Also, trust yourself and your body. Doctors don't know every and some still have very limited knowledge or downplay the connection between food and health/behavior. Now that you mention it, on the inside of my arm I have had a very small patch. 0, 5x0, 5 cm/0, 2x0, 2 inches of tiny reddish dots. I thought I scratched myself, pinched the skin or something like that. But when I ate those apples the last time, those dots became fiery red as I had that strange feeling in my throat. I didn't think it was connected because I also did some sports in the same time frame. But since I didn't have any apples, those dots are now almost gone and only barely visible. Don't feel bad. I had terrible intestinal problems for like a month that had me horribly nauseous and running in and out of the bathroom constantly. Turns out I developed lactose intolerance and suddenly could no longer eat onion or garlic. I didn't even think that onion and garlic could cause intestinal problems until my doctor told me to go on a FODMAP diet. You're shitting on yourself for not realizing it earlier. But I'd say this is a magnificent instance of you thinking critically, recalling information from a prior first convo, and connecting that to reasoning about your Apple purchasing habits shows a degree of reflexivity I don't think many people would have considered, ESP when relying on a specialist's advice. I have an allergy that I haven't figured out yet. It's delayed onset, so I can't work it out. It gives me mouth sores and nausea, but, like I said, I can't find the pattern. I'm glad you were able to figure yours out. I did have the fun of a bleeding stomach ulcer from something a few months ago. I restricted my diet down to just yogurt and strawberries for about a month, so it would heal. I never want to vomit 2 pints of blood again. That was not cool. I'm pretty sure that was stress induced and unrelated to my unknown allergy. My takeaway from this is that the variety of food is as important in writing everything down. If I also wrote down which types of apples I ate, I might have figured it out sooner. The onset of symptoms was also delayed for me by a couple of hours, except for those last apples, to which my body reacted almost instantly with the funny throat feeling. Maybe that could help you too in figuring it out. I used to get giant 5-pound tins of cashews. After a while I started getting a bad rash in my mouth that just kept slowly getting worse and worse. My entire life I had never been allergic to anything, so while trying to figure out what was wrong, all I could find was like cancer, other really bad stuff, or allergies. Well, I wasn't allergic to anything, so I guess I was dying right. Well, a week or so went by and I was about to call the doctor when I was eating some cashews and my rash was super itchy. So I'd chew them and use them to itch the rash. And I wasn't. I rinsed my mouth out really well and stopped eating cashews and the rash was gone within like 24 hours. So I'm sensitive to cashews too. They are in the same family as poison ivy/oak. So why you maybe also be allergic to mangoes. The mango skin is the offender, but the oils in it get everywhere, so it is hard to eat raw. I can eat frozen or cooked mango with no problem. Wow. Thanks for posting this. I just discovered my cashew sensitivity from Reddit too. I've been wondering what other foods I might be sensitive to. I've never really liked fresh mango, which is weird cause I love most tropical fruits. So this explains that avoidance. Sounds like it's actually a birch pollen allergy. There's a protein in certain tree fruits that is similar, but not the same, to the allergen in birch pollen. I've had hay fever all my life and never had issues with foods until my 30s. Raw apples, pears, avocados, cherries, and unroasted walnuts and almonds all set it off. Cooked is fine, since it destroys the protein. I have OS from intense hay fever reactions also. My family still doesn't believe it's a real thing, i.e. having me try different fruits or nuts to see how I'll complain about them. Not every reaction is the same as Op points out. Other things on the list for me: any pit fruits, tree nuts, Apple cider vinegar, that one was new and surprising, as once the proteins are broken down there shouldn't be a reaction. Unrelated to hay fever. Banana, kiwi fruit, avocado, other pickling preservatives. If anyone has info on those last ones and associations, open for some helpful hints. Banana, avocado, kiwi fruit are all potential cross reactions with a latex allergy. I have contact allergens that would cause reactions to various pickling preservatives and potentially vinegar, but that is more complex and usually delayed reaction. Relevant contact allergens for me include balsam of Peru, benzoates among other things, many spices, a long list of potential triggers. How do I have this, but the other end, called oral allergy syndrome, was referred for allergy testing by the GP, and turns out I have minor allergies to a lot of things, including apples, caused by my bad hay fever. Luckily even the worst reaction just looks like I've had bad lip fillers along with some tingling. Hopefully your doctor told you, but you may have more allergies than just apples, and it also may get triggered by something you're normally fine with if you don't eat it for an extended period. So if there's anything you really like, make sure to keep eating little amounts on the regular and hopefully you won't develop an allergy to that. I have a coworker that had something trigger his allergies into high gear about 2 to 3 years ago. Let's call him Scuba Steve. He never had a problem until he suddenly couldn't be more than 10 feet from a toilet one day. Months later he went on a trip that involved 2-hour driving stretch through the desert with no gas station / rest stop / exits. The van driver had to pull over on the highway 3 times in that stretch so he could defecate in the side of the road. He went to the doctor to find out what was wrong. As soon as he returned, old Scuba Steve never had an allergy in his life, and he suddenly developed severe environmental allergies which has taken away nearly every vegetable you could think of to have as a side dish. Rewind a few weeks before this developed, and we have another coworker allergic to a nut and a seed. We'll call him Captain Insania. This coworker knows of his allergy but doesn't bother to carry his EpiPen ever. He embedded up either to the hospital twice in a month because he ate something with an offending allergen. Now Captain Insania and Scuba Steve are friends, but the kind of friends that constantly try to outbully the other. Scuba Steve managed to find a nut bar that was made entirely of Captain Insania's seed allergen and honey, and one of the same type for his nut allergy. Scuba started getting one or the other of those bars and eating it while talking to Insania from 10 feet away every day. Dude spent $80 to $100 on these bars to make fun of Insania for a few weeks until the start of his own problem. Scuba Steve is now known as Karma McShit. My mill once related her story. She was traveling with husband and single child. This was during the summer, before interstates existed, so food was purchased at local farm stands. Well, she started to develop hives. As a former nurse, she knew to start the elimination diet to determine what food she was reacting to. She was down to just iced tea and cantaloupe. Yep, the worst case of hives. She was reacting to both. She never had tea or cantaloupe again. This should be an episode on house. Good for you for being a conscientious eater. I coached and was in sports nutrition. The fact that you paid attention, tried to make good choices, and kept excellent data is terrific. What if we were all as astute as you? Methinks the medical industry would frown. I can only imagine what unnecessary drug cocktail you would have been subjected to if the doc had gone another route. Glad that you are feeling better. Peaches. Oh, how I can relate to this. I recently had bowel surgery. Due to it, I'm unable to eat solids. In the last 4 weeks I've only really had fruit juice, protein shakes and mashed veg. I've not really been able to meat, takeaway, fried food, and when I have tried I've been sick within minutes. Now I will / should be able to return to normal food in another 3 weeks, but I don't want to at all. In the last 4 weeks I've lost 2 stone. I was overweight but not obese, but the things that I've really noticed is that my psoriasis has almost gone. Psoriasis has plagued me for 10 years. At one point I had 98% coverage of my body. You couldn't move a centimeters on my body before hitting another patch. I even shaved my hair off at 24 because the flaky raw scalp was too intense. I now have about 2% on my body. I've not had to take my tablets or apply the 3 different creams that I normally apply 3 times a day. On top of that, I've suffered with horrendous back pain since I was 19. I'm now 35. Back then I was in incredible shape, but over the years back pain caused me to be miserable and gain weight. I've had scans, chiro, physio, the lot. Nothing has ever helped outside of a 30-minute break. Now though I've not had back pain for 3 weeks, or at least not significant. And the final icing on the cake is that my IBD has completely gone. I can't tell you how nice it is to fart and not wonder if you're going to shit yourself or the bed at the same time. All this is down to a food I can't tolerate. When I can eat normal again, I'll be introducing one food at a time to avoid making the same mistake of around the last 15 years. I also am allergic to apples. Pretty much the same situation as you. Hay fever, etc. I've also got a few more foods on the allergy list, to include tree nuts and carrots. It was an absolute nightmare as a kid. Better now as an adult that I can just avoid eating those things. Back to apples. I want to caution you about a hard lesson I learned. Apples, or their sweet extract / sauce / juice, are put into tons of products, from cookies to juices to naturally sweeten them. I drink very few pre-bottled juices because of this. There are a few clean cranberry juices that scratch the juice itch well enough. The weirdest was apples added to a pack of cookies. Bottom line, check for those weird situations if you start to feel off again. The juice got me pretty bad once. Good luck. I'm right there with you. It took me forever to figure out the things that are supposed to be healthy for me were making me feel like crap. Lots of raw fruits and vegetables make me feel sick and cause itchy welts in my mouth and throat. If I cook them, I don't have any issue whatsoever. Also, if one type of apple is giving you a problem, all apples are going to be giving you a problem. Try cutting them out completely and see how you feel. I found my cross allergy through cherries in my teens. Had an allergy test at a hospital where they take samples and sort of poke it into your skin. Turns out my hay fever that already aggravated my asthma had now crossed over to pretty much all fruit and tree pollen. I found citrus fruits to be the safest if you remove all the pith. I resonated so much with the sticky shit student. I wish you all the best. Maybe we can make a support group. I made the mistake of chugging a bottle of apple and other assorted fruit juice last month because I was really thirsty post-workout, and I literally had to just quit in the middle of Overwatch match and blow up the toilet. Apple juice can duck your shift up. Regarding cross allergies, I suggest you get tested for all the things your current allergies link to. When I had to spend days in the hospital due to eating an apple, it got quite serious for me. Thanks to allergy tests, I found a lot of things that I had never eaten before that could have killed me had I eaten them. Just take care, man. Allergies are no joke. I know someone who is allergic to raw apples, but she can eat a plet sauce. There is something about cooking the apples that takes the allergen away. If you feel brave and like apples, maybe try a plet sauce, but I would consult your physician first. 2 things. A bun gun is fabulous. North America is disgusting. Once you learn, you never go back. Secondly, yes sir, I had gluten issues for roughly 10 to 15 years that slowly got worse and worse till I literally thought I was dying of cancer or going to have a heart attack. I was faring 100s of times a day. When it got really bad, I'd commonly have a sandwich thinking the bread would help absorb the acids and settle the indigestion, which would obviously just make it much worse. The crazy thing was, when I finally stopped and my body had a few days to recover, I felt normal for the first time in a long time. It was totally unfamiliar, and I realized that what I had accepted as feeling good before was actually perpetual sickness. I think there's a woeful lack of knowledge about allergies and digestive health. Doctors and every kind of person you could name couldn't identify this. It actually took a quack doctor who also misdiagnosed me as diabetic to randomly suggest trying a GF diet for 2 weeks just to see if I have it. He was an idiot, but yup, I had it. Changed my life. I think what's overlooked is the mental strain of these things. It dramatically mess with your head. My body feels great now, but I feel my brain is still in recovery. Knowing something is seriously wrong to the point of being afraid you're dying, but coming back with a clean bill of health 4 years ducks with your head in unique ways. Not to mention that the feeling of this ailment and that gut feeling that you're in danger / being taken advantage of are basically the same, and it's totally WZCK to be worried your boss has a problem with you based on the Egg McMuffin you had for breakfast. Grat's friend. I found that if I eat Nature Valley honey and oat bars, my throat swells shut. First time it happened I sorta freaked out. I had no idea what was going on. 2 weeks later on the same delivery route, same country road, same convenience store, same snack was on sale. Didn't panic as bad, but still very scary. Learned that honey from a different region of the country can have adverse effects. This is so crazy. I finally found my people it seems. Everyone always thinks it's so weird when I tell them about it. I have oral allergy syndrome, OS, and it started with almonds and cherries first. Apples, peaches, and some other fruits have gotten worse over time. My GI issues aren't as bad as yours, more of itchy, swelling, difficulty breathing from the OS. Will have to research more on protein PR10 I read in the comments. Makes sense because I can eat certain fruits if they're cooked, but still not almonds or soy milk. Oral allergy syndrome diagnosis here. My cross allergy is from birch pollen. Apples are also on my list. In college, my symptoms got so bad I was bedridden, had vomiting and diarrhea, and it got so rough that there was blood involved too. Definitely not a fun experience, and they originally just said I had too much acid in my diet and I probably had IBS. It wasn't until 3 years after graduation I was properly diagnosed with oral allergy syndrome, as I would still have flare-ups. Just assumed too much acid again. Very thankful to know everything to avoid now, since many people mentioned birch pollen. I looked it up. My hay fever is worst when birch pollen concentration usually is the highest in my area. According to pollen calendars, I'll schedule an allergy test to make sure. I had a stomach bug too. A couple of years back, I needed some strong antibiotics to clear it. For about 10 days I ate hardly anything, apart from soups, mostly cuppa soup, but it just would not get better. Cramping and diarrhea went on for another 2 weeks. Antibiotics were finished. I still wasn't able to hold on to food, so stuck to soup. Went back to the doctor, who told me that a common side effect of both that bug and the type of antibiotics is lactose intolerance. I was eating a lot of cream soups, and cuppa soup also adds lactose to some of their other soups. Stopped eating lactose, and was fine after a couple of days. Nowadays I'm just happy that Ben & Jerry developed a lactose-free ice cream. If you enjoy watching these videos, make sure to hit the subscribe button and like this video. Thanks.